Welcome back to another week, another episode on the podcast. This week, I'm going to talk about all about ways. This week, I'm going to talk about all of my tips and tools to staying grounded during the holiday season because, the holidays are a time to, of course, enjoy yourself, um, enjoy the food, enjoy the family, and just have a really good time. But it is also a time where I feel like our mental health can suffer a little bit. We tend to pull away from the things that we know make us feel good. And, the holidays aren't happy for everyone, right? Not everyone feels joy around the holiday seasons, and it can be really difficult, might bring up feelings of loneliness. Even looking at astrology, I have in Sagittarius Saturn and Uranus. And so, the sun, um, Venus, and Mercury during this time are kind of like transiting those bigger, heavier energies for myself. So a lot of these themes come up, and it's in the fourth and fifth house for me. So that's family, children, fun, dating, romance, all those things. And so having these transits for me, it always brings up some things. And I know specifically lately, I have been just doing a lot of the unblocking work, reprogramming work. And so with that is a little bit of just some things start coming up. It feels a little bit sticky. And I heard somebody the other day convincing somebody to have a drink, and the person was saying that they wanted to go to the gym, and then the person was like, it's the holidays, the gym can wait. And in my mind, I was like, I understand, absolutely, like, enjoy yourself, but also this is a time when if you wanna go to the gym, go to the gym and then have the drink, right? Just because it is so helpful to stay within our routine. I've been reading so many books. I've been, like, feeling really introspective lately, and, I read, oh my gosh, what was it? The Celestine Prophecy, which I talked about last week. So good. I'm not even gonna get back into that book because if you want to know a little bit about that book, my intro last week was all about the Celestine Prophecy. I was just, like, on another level reading this book. It was so, so good. Highly recommend that one. And this week, I'm reading Tantra, and it is so powerful. It holds so many powerful lessons because as I like to study, I like to understand, like, so many different religions. I think that, the core message is the same, and so I like to just, like, read and see it from different perspectives. And a lot of spiritual texts, will talk about Jesus and Buddha and kind of, like, their teachings and how it relates to spirituality, and I think it's really, really fascinating. And so this book talks a lot about, Tantra. Tantra is a religion, and, um, it's like finding that they talk a lot about being natural and loose, right? With life, being natural and loose. And in the sense of like observing your thoughts, don't take anything too seriously. Don't, if something happens, like let it go, move on. If you have a bad thought, don't be like, oh my gosh, I can't think that. Like witnessing your body. If your body's hungry, it's going to move to get food. If your body's thirsty, it's going to move to get water. But like you sort of detaching the witness with all of that stuff. There's a beautiful quote in there, and it talks about the mind and the thoughts that pass through our mind. And just think of your thoughts as guests within the mind, right? And you, the witnesser, is the host. So you're hosting the guests, but they're going to leave, right? Allowing them to like go through and move through and not allowing them to then be the host and you being a guest in your own physical body, right? And, talking about duality of things and, like you can't have love without hate. You can't have anger without compassion. You can't have one without the other, right? And so being able to be a witness to those things. And I felt pretty triggered over the last week. I'm going to throw out a whole bunch of labels and then I'm going to throw them all to the wind. But I am an emotional manifesting generator. I am a fearful avoidant that leans more to the anxious side of things. And so within that, a lot of my core wounds come up to being unworthy, being unlovable, and, we have these beliefs within us, and it really roots down to repetition and emotion. So, whatever was repetitively told to you, whatever story you believed that brought up emotion, like in your childhood, is typically between the ages of 0 and 7. You took to be your truth, your subconscious believes these things. And so, no matter like what you're consciously want to believe, the subconscious is going to kind of like whisper in your ear these little things. And so, part of my wounding, and And attachment styles can change in adulthood. So maybe you had like a supportive family and then you ended up in an abusive relationship. Like you can then, because of that situation, you can be secure and then lean more towards dismissive or anxious, depending on your situation. But so part of my thing is being a fearful avoidant. I go between dismissive and anxious. And but when I am dealing with a partner or with somebody, another individual that is more dismissive, then my anxious side comes up. And so I felt this anxious attachment system activate this week. And I felt it. I moved through it. And normally it's like I want to say all the things. I want to be really expressive because as a fearful avoidant, everything is so deep and so passionate and so intense, right? And we can be really hot and cold. And 1 minute, like we like want to like bare our soul, and the next minute we're just like, I'm done talking to you, and it's really, really can be really it's chaotic, right? And so within that, I notice when my mind goes to those places of like, oh well, I need to say this, I need to get this response out of somebody. And if I don't say anything, but like, what if I did say something, right? And so I go through this whole like chaotic mess in my mind. And it's really important to remember to just like witness it. And what I say right now, especially from that state, is not going to be the thing that like changes somebody's mind. Um, it's like knowing that, if somebody is for you, you shouldn't feel confused. You shouldn't feel, it shouldn't, I want to be careful how I say it. It shouldn't activate your attachment system. And I say that only, and it shouldn't repetitively activate it, right? If you do get activated from whatever reason, expressing that should then allow that person to come to you and be like, okay, I understand how that makes you feel. What do I need? What do you need from me? Instead of maybe like gaslighting or projecting on you or whatever it is. And kind of, I feel like having that deep faith and spiritual belief in like something bigger and synchronicities and I think that's what trips me up sometimes is the synchronicities where I'm like there are so many synchronicities sometimes with people that I'm like what is the message, right? And I'm trying so hard to figure it out. I'm like why? And I don't think it needs to be that difficult. And I think when we're like overthinking it like that, we're kind of resisting ourselves. And that is a big message in this book in Tantra. It's like I feel like just flowing with it and being the witness to it. And so I say all that because I was really activated and I felt like a whole day of just like feeling really deep sadness and loss and desire and longing. And this again, like I do find sometimes this comes up around the holidays. I do feel like alone oftentimes. And I think that like amplifies it. Um, but I found myself in that. And instead of like getting on the phone and trying to express everything I was feeling and trying to like force something out of somebody else, just being with the emotion, being with what was happening in the body. I ran it through the emotional processing tool that I have just to like re kind of like poke holes in the story that I was telling myself that because XYZ wasn't said or because XYZ wasn't done, that means I'm unworthy and I'm not worthy of love and blah, 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 all those things. And I don't say blah, blah, blah to minimize it. I'm just, I've gone over this in my mind. And then allowing myself to just like move through the day feeling that sadness and loss in my chest, right? Being able to feel and move through that but not make it mean anything more than, or rather allowing myself to be the witness to it and not have to do something about it because this too shall pass, right? It always will. Emotions move, especially if you're an emotional being. The wave goes up and down. You're going to be able to move through it. And you're going to be able to process through it. And last week, I actually had a few nights where I really wanted to have a drink. Like I was really tempted. There was one time where I was like, almost, I could have. And I told myself, like, first of all, it's absolutely fine to have a drink, right? If that's what I want to do, then that's fine. There's always like the little, like, kind of, I don't know if it's like an ego, um, like thing in me where I when I really like set my mind to something and I do something, then it's like a challenge where it's like, oh, I have to see how long I can go. And like, it's almost like failing that challenge if I have a drink, but also like, just again, this book is reminding me like be natural and loose in life. But anyway, so I didn't have the drink because if I had just wanted to and it felt good, like fine, that's one thing. But I knew it was because I was feeling emotionally activated that I was craving that drinks because I was craving to numb out. I was craving to not feel it. But it never like turns out like that because then I don't feel good the next day. but knowing that like doing it from an emotional space never solves the problem for me. And actually the last few times I've been drinking, it's really interesting because like as I've been like really working to clean my body up and clean my system up and um, clean my mind up, right? I've noticed that like before, even like one drink, I would feel like this like almost like tingling around my skin, right? It was like almost like this, like my aura felt blocked, like I couldn't like push out from it. And I was just like kind of like caged in this like thing. So I chose not to. I chose to do other things. I had cappuccinos, but I really like moved through using these processing tools, and it was really helpful to just like feel it and move through it and then just be able to kind of like detach from it and just flow and be like, if this doesn't work out, like, I think a lot of it, I know for me, a lot of it, as for so many people, right? It's like wanting that connection with somebody else, wanting to feel loved, wanting to feel connected, which I think is a core wound. I mean, I think that's where attachment styles, right, really come from is like how you receive that or not as a child. But um, yeah. Uh, just like being able to move through that and understand that like I'm good, right? Like I'm good. I'm working on me. I don't have to be overly attached to someone or something because it's like when you are, it's like then you're resisting yourself, right? Then you're resisting the thing that you want. So it's like, can you find a way to just let it go, right? And I always think of that, like maybe it's not now, right? Maybe it's meant to be in 5 years, right? If it's meant to be, it will be. And I've always believed that if it's meant to be, it will be. Maybe now, maybe in 2 weeks, maybe in 6 months. Like you never know. Things can change like that. And so just like having that trust and being able to just like let it go and know that I am good. I am okay. It may hurt and may be painful. I may like deeply care, but I have to care from here because I have to care about me. And so it really like kind of that's what this episode is about, right? Is like moving through the holidays and being able to stay grounded within yourself and everything you've been working towards and working on. It would be really easy. I've gone like I think it's about 2 months now that I haven't, yeah, 2 months that I haven't had a drink. So it'd be really easy to just be like, oh, it's the holidays and family's here and everybody's drinking and cool. Like, let me just have a glass of wine with everybody. But also, like, I also feel really empowered to find ways to have fun that don't include alcohol. Like, I was talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, but like let loose every now and again and like have a good time. And I'm like, yeah, like absolutely. But do I need alcohol to have a good time, to let loose and have a good time? Can't I let loose and have a good time and not be drunk and like remember it more? And like I feel like it's more meaningful when I'm sober and having those experiences as opposed to like waking up and being like, oh, I don't really remember what happened last night, right? Like, was it even fun then if you don't remember it? Not to like shame anybody or judge anybody, because like literally that's why, it's like, yeah, I haven't been drinking for 2 months now, but my journey to sobriety has been a long one. I have drank very heavily throughout my life. It was really hard to like give up. And it really was like the last 2 years of like giving it up for a couple weeks here, giving it up for a few months there, to really come to the mindset space where I feel like I'm at now, where it's like I don't actually need it anymore. Like I had to let my body feel bad enough times where I was like, I'm actually done, right? And then yeah, like being able to have new experiences and not have to lean on that. And then when I'm feeling the craving of it, it's like, what is the need that I actually have right now that my subconscious believes that alcohol will meet? So there's connection, there's fun, enjoyment, like whatever it is, right? And then it's like if I feel like I need to drink to get through a situation too, like maybe I just shouldn't go, right? So anyway, but so yeah, so these are just some tools and tips that I find are helpful in staying grounded through this time because we work all year round, or we've worked for years, or however long you've been on your healing journey, mental health, and it's like it can really decline during this time, and so just staying with your routine um, is really important. So whatever routine you have in place, whether that's maybe you wake up and you journal, maybe you have chug like 8 ounces of water, maybe you move your body, like whatever your set routine is, stick to it throughout the holidays. You can still have the fun and do all the things that you want to do, but like stick with those routines and then go do those things, right? Like really prioritize what works for you now. Don't like let it all go to the wind and then in January you're struggling to like get back into that routine. Stick to your routine now, whatever that may be. So for me, Monday through Friday, I have a very specific routine. And the weekends, it looks a little bit different because I get to kind of lay in bed a little bit longer and do things a little bit differently. But that in itself stays consistent, right? Monday through Friday stays consistent and the weekend stays consistent. Um, Sometimes, well, so like, so Thanksgiving, I woke up more like a weekend because I was able to sleep in a little bit. But I still had the consistency of getting up and journaling and having my coffee and moving my body, drinking water, having all my supplements, like whatever it is, right? It stays consistent. Don't stop. Obviously, always trust yourself, do what feels good, but really understand what really does feel good, right? So, yes, like not going to the gym for 3 days might feel fantastic, right? It's like whatever, you're having a great time. But then really noticing, like, is it affecting your mindset? Is it affecting your mental health? Is it affecting your emotions? So continue to move your body in whatever way that looks like for you. Just a walk, maybe you go to the gym. I have been honestly doing the class more than I've been going to the gym lately. I try and get to the gym a few times a week because I still do love running. Um, so like being consistent and continue to move your body. Like I said, I heard somebody was like, "Oh, don't go to the gym, just have a drink." And yeah, like on a one off, sure. But this is also a really important time to continue to prioritize the gym. So do the thing and then do the other thing that you want to do. Like not saying don't have fun, not saying don't have the drinks, don't enjoy the food, like do, but stay consistent with um with moving your body and your routines. Um and set boundaries. Set boundaries around your time. So if it's during the holiday season and everybody wants you to come out but you feel like you want to stay home, like stay home. If you're out for Christmas and you're just like not having it anymore and you want to leave at like 8, leave at 8. Like stick to your boundaries, set those boundaries so that you continue to feel good within yourself, right? So that you're not like hurting yourself or struggling or suffering, or whatever. Because again, Ram Dass said, if you think you've healed, spend a weekend with your family. And so during the holidays, so during the holidays, we spend a lot of time with our family. And so sometimes we just need to set those boundaries and prioritize yourself in that situation. In the book Tantra, I absolutely loved it, but it was talking about being in service to others. And the author talks about how, yes, that is great to be in service to others, to help others, but your priority should be to be selfish, and I'm air quoting that, to meet your own needs. Because when you find that light within yourself, when you meet your own needs and you're coming from that space of like awareness and consciousness and all the things, then as you walk around, you are naturally going to be in service to other, right? You can be in service to people and be in a really dark place, right? And your intention isn't there and you're just doing it and maybe you're feeling resentful and you don't actually want to do it. And I do believe like giving in whatever way, like you are still getting benefits of it, right? So if you donate $50 and maybe you're just like, oh, I'm just doing this so that I'll manifest money. Yeah, sure. There are better ways to manifest money, but the fact that you are still giving and somebody is still receiving is still going to open your heart. And so I'm not saying don't be in service. And I don't think that's what the book is saying, but it's also saying like be selfish as well and fill your own cup and come back to yourself and find the light within yourself so that when you do give and you do go to be in service, you're even more in service because you're naturally just walking around being in service because you found that space within yourself, right? Um, Again, take care of your body. So eat the food, all the things, but don't like throw your whole diet away. you know Even like the last few days, so Thursday was obviously Thanksgiving, so I've been eating like leftovers, but I've been trying to be like intentional about what I'm eating. So I made a mushroom lentil loaf, so I'm vegan, but I made a mushroom lentil loaf because I knew that there was like the tofurkey thing at Thanksgiving, and I always like try and tread lightly around. I'm not trying to be unappreciative or insulting of anyone in their cooking, but I personally at this time am not eating processed foods. And so I brought and made my own mushroom lentil loaf. And so then, of course, like eating leftovers, it was all sent home with me. So I don't know if that was like nobody liked it, which is fine. I thought it was good. I ate it. Whatever. Besides the point, it's healthy. And of course, not everybody likes that. And that's fine. Um, so then like I would eat the lentil loaf here, and then when I went over to my parents' house, like I would eat the other leftovers, like the mashed potatoes, the green bean casserole, those things. So I wasn't like loading up on the tofurkey, although I did have it one day, but I also did notice how my body reacted that night. And it didn't feel good. And so like noting that. And so I'm still trying to like, yes, I'm absolutely enjoying the food and I ate a lot, but like I didn't overdo it. I kind of listened to my body. Of course, this is a practice. This is years of practice, but like I feel like, um, like really, this is why it's like so important to like tune into yourself and just like if you've never done any of these practices, if you don't have a routine or anything like that, yeah, absolutely. It's always a good time to start. So I'm not telling you not to start now, but it's going to be more difficult. Like it's going to be more difficult to start in a time when you're tempted by everything. I think it was in the book. I don't even remember. James Clear, one of his books, something. It was like, like willpower is like muscles and muscles fatigue. So everybody's like, oh yeah, like you have to have like really strong willpower and wow, you have so much willpower. Like you're not drinking or you're not eating processed foods, you're not eating this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, yeah, like of course there's an element of willpower there. Um, but I'm also not putting myself in situations day in and day out where I'm being tempted by those things. Cause eventually, if I had somebody every day be like, here, have a glass of wine, here, have a glass of wine, here, have a glass of wine, here, have a glass of wine. Like, yeah, probably eventually I'm going to be like, oh, fine, like, because I like wine. It's not like I don't like it. That's not why I'm choosing not to drink. And so, you know, of course, like now is always a good time. Now is always the best time to start something. But just being aware, and that's where the boundaries come in. And that's where you're setting, keeping with your routine and setting your boundaries and doing all those things. Meditation is awesome. Meditation 3 to 5 minutes a day. If you're just starting out, 3 to 5 minutes a day is really all that you need. But meditation is so helpful in just coming back to yourself, giving yourself those 3 to 5 minutes or 15, 20, 30 minutes, whatever, wherever you're at of meditation, to just observe, see what's coming up, still your body. Um, if you can still your mind, then still your mind. I like never my my mind is pretty active. Like it has gotten so much better through meditation, but there are still times where I notice like my thoughts and then I'm trying to like manifest stuff through a meditation. So, it's not a point of stilling your mind like I was talking about in the beginning of this, like in Tantra, right? It's like being the witness to your thoughts. And so having those times of meditation, those practices and those techniques to kind of like move you through it. That's another thing that Tantra talks about that I thought was really, really interesting. It's like you're not ever, so it's Tantra believes that enlightenment is a in the moment thing. Whereas yoga is kind of like a gradual process to get you to enlightenment. Whereas Tantra just believes like they use the analogy of like you're either sleeping or you're awake. You're either dead or you're alive, right? Like it happens in an instant. Like somebody comes in and wakes you up. Like it's not like, your eyes may be closed, but the minute you wake up, you're awake, right? And so they use that analogy. And I think it's so beautiful and powerful and true, right? But it's like we can do these practices of like meditation and yoga and whatever it is to get us to the point where we can then just wake up. Um, so yeah, so meditation, continue to meditate. And if you feel called to like starting, like I said, 3 to 5 minutes is really all you need every day. If you can do 7 days a week, 3 to 5 minutes, like we can all find the time, right? We could all find 3 to 5 minutes to sit. Whatever works for you, or like repeat a mantra, listen to some music, put in headphones and listen to some binaural beats. You can find them on Spotify. Like, and there's so Insight Timer, there's so much free content out there for meditations. Yoga nidras, find them on YouTube. Like there's so many ways. And then getting outside. I know it's cold and I don't even like going outside in the cold, but like you can bring plants inside. Enjoy, like I was literally, I think we've been, so like Thursday obviously was Thanksgiving. So Wednesday night, Thursday, and whatever. Anyway, so I opened my front door and I realized I hadn't like gone outside like all day. And so it was just like that hit of like the fresh air. Yes, it was cold, but it was just like I just like breathed it in. I was like, oh, that feels so good to like not be within my little cage, right? My house. And so getting outside as often as you can, bringing plants inside, like just having some sort of a connection with nature, because that is really important, is connecting with nature in whatever way that you can. Notice your thoughts, right? Notice what is on loop. Notice what is going on. Pay attention to what you say. Notice how you make your past your present or your future your present. And remember, like, you get to decide, right? Like, every moment, like, now is a time for you to decide. You can let go right now, right? Like, you can do it. You can let go of the mind, all the thoughts, the chaos, the chatter, even if you do it for a second, right? It's like when we meditate, being so gentle and just witnessing, like, yes, our mind is like all over the place. Or when the minute you notice, like, oh, that's interesting, my mind was way over there, and instead of being like, oh my gosh, I have to stop my thinking, oh my gosh, right? Like instead of like forcing and being like so aggressive about it, just be like, oh, that's interesting, I was definitely somewhere else, and then coming back. And there's always that moment where you're actually truly in meditation. And that's what they say with Om, right? So when we chant Om, it's like the minute that Om stops, the space between the two Oms, that is meditation. That's the time where you're meditating. It's like the space between your breaths, between the inhale and the exhale. That's meditation, right? And so it's not like forcing yourself to stop thinking, but it's noticing those moments and being more in those moments, those pauses. That's where you can shift your perspective, right? That's where you can kind of come back to yourself. And even if that is the only moment in your day when you can let it all go, right? Like whatever you're struggling through, whatever you're suffering through, wherever your mind is going, if you can get those moments, have awareness of those moments more and more, they will become more and more. It's a practice, right? And that's really powerful. And so as you're moving through the holidays, find those little moments, whatever it is. Continue to go to the gym, continue to meditate, continue to stick with your routine, enjoy yourself, but notice, have awareness, witness it. If you're starting to feel off, that's interesting. Maybe I need to switch the way I'm eating. Maybe I need to get back to my routine. Maybe I need to journal a little bit more. Maybe I could do like a 3-minute meditation now. Maybe I can go for a walk. Maybe I can do a little bit of yoga. Just having these things to come back to is really, really powerful in getting through the holidays, in maintaining your mind, your mental health, and your mindset. So yeah, that those are my tips to getting through, to staying grounded during the holidays. Let me know if it resonates with you. You can get me on Instagram at Rochelle.Christian. TikTok is the same thing, Rochelle.Christian. Everything is in the show notes. The 7-week small group container for January, I'm starting it again in January, is open for enrollment. So click the link in the bio. I'm only taking 5 people through it. And my intention with this is this combination of human design and attachment style. And it's like, we so often set these intentions for the new year, these big intentions. And then because our subconscious and our conscious mind, self-sabotage happens when our conscious mind logically wants to do something and our subconscious does not believe that we can. Then we self-sabotage and we get frustrated because we haven't actually done the thing. And so with this group, I want to set goals, set action steps to get to those goals, and then going in through human design and attachment theory and just really rewiring and noticing our blocks and our limiting beliefs and our subconscious beliefs that are coming up, and be able to move through them and work through them so that we can actually create like lasting effects. And 7 weeks, with repetition and emotion, like continuing to do it and having that and having the accountability of a small group of people moving through it with you is beautiful. Some of the most healing work I've done in my journey has been in groups. And so just knowing that you're not alone within it. So if you would like any more information on that, there's information in the show notes. You can DM me on Instagram, get me on TikTok, or just email me. It's Rochelle@RochelleChristian.com. You can always get me over there. HD attached sessions, which is again human design, and this is one-on-one sessions, are officially open. I have space for 3 more clients for that, and that is about a 12-week program. And it's the same premise. We are using human design, working through your unconditioned centers, or your open centers, undefined centers, working through that, working through limiting beliefs and blocks, really identifying, having awareness, all the things. And then of course, a one-off one-on-one human design session. It's a little bit deeper than just like a human design reading. We kind of will always touch on emotions and blocks and things like that. That is available. The HD 101 workshop is available. Everything is in the show notes. So you can head down there and check it out. Yeah, I hope this was helpful for you. If it resonated, share with a friend. It really, really does help the podcast. Rate, review, subscribe, all the things. And if you are on YouTube, subscribe, share. I appreciate you. And I thank you so much. And I hope this is helpful for you getting through your holidays.